Okay, so we've got to have fractions down. So I'm going to go back one more time, do a quick review here. Because we've just finished adding or subtracting fractions. Okay? So focus in, don't fall asleep. Pay attention, look at the screen. Let me just do a quick review. The rule is pretty simple to adding fractions. I will definitely ask you that rule on your quizzes this chapter, definitely on your test. And listen, every test the rest of the year will have that rule on it. Don't forget it, because that tells you how to add fractions. And again, what it tells you is add the numerators and put it over the common denominator. When you already have a common denominator, it's pretty simple. Just be careful with your positives and negatives. Show that rule step and you should be fine. It should allow you to keep track of your positives and negatives and not make a mistake. It'll also help you to remember, hey, this is the way we add or subtract fractions. So that was the first day. And then the second day, we had different denominators. Well, again, the idea is to add the numerators and put them over common denominator. So whenever you're going to add or subtract fractions, you look to see if you have a common denominator. And if you don't, you say, hey, I got to get a common denominator so I can add those fractions. Not very hard to do. Get your common denominator, then add the numerators and put it over that common denominator. Always reduce or put it in proper format when you finish. That's not a lot, right? That's not a lot, really. It's not. And so that's something everybody can do. You just have to remember that that's how you add fractions. Now, today we're going to talk about multiplying, right? So today's lesson is 6.2, multiplying rational numbers. And remember, rational numbers are simply, class, fractions. So it's just a fancy way of saying it. And I want you to write it so that you'll, if someone says rational number, you know they're talking fractions. Okay. So look, here's the key. And here's where students get into trouble, daydreamers. In that, sometimes they try to treat multiplying fractions like they would adding. Or sometimes they try to treat adding fractions like they would multiplying. It will always lead you to the wrong answer. Now, you don't need to write this. But do you agree that 2 plus 3 is definitely different, than 2 times 3? It's different. You're going to get a different answer if you're adding than if you're multiplying. It's not the same thing. It's a different operation. And hence, with fractions, if you try to multiply fractions the way you add them, you're going to get them wrong. Or if you try to add fractions the way you multiply them, you're going to get them wrong. You just got to keep it straight. And honestly, there's really technically only 3 things with fractions. 1, adding or subtracting. It's the same idea, isn't it? It's just a sign in the middle is a negative instead of a plus, right? So that's one thing, adding. Then 2, multiplying. And then 3, dividing. That's 3 things. That's 3. Right? Not a lot. And you can do it. You really can. So just keep straight. Hey, I'm multiplying. I'm not adding. I'm not dividing. I'm multiplying. And what is simply to remember in multiplying? Top times top and bottom times bottom. We've actually already done this, right? To get equivalent fractions, to get that common denominator. Didn't we, in fractions, multiply tops times top? We did. So again, this is what you're doing in words, right? This is what should come to your mind when you got to multiply fractions. And it's pretty easy. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Boy, that's not hard. What's the problem with fractions? I don't understand all this fraction phobia. Fractions. What's the big deal, right? There's not a whole lot to them. Oh, I'm adding a fraction. Okay, add the numerators, put them over the common denominator. I'm multiplying. Top times top, bottom times bottom. All right, that's 2/3 down. All we have left is division. It's not really a whole lot. It's really not. So don't let them be spooky. Don't let them be scary. Don't give yourself fractional fright. Don't have to go to the shrink over your fractional phobia. All right? Don't tell mom to schedule an appointment with the psychiatrist because these fractions are just getting you down. All right? It's you can do it. You really can. It's not hard. There's not a lot to them. So multiplying is easy. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Bingo bango. That's it. Cha-ching. You're done. Roll on. All right, so let's deal with multiplication today. Oh boy, here's a tough one. 3/5 times 4/7. Okay, usually multiplication, I'll let you go on the rule step later, but for right now, just hang in there. Top is 3 times 4, right? That's pretty hard. And the bottom is 5 times 7. Whoopee! That was tough. Now, by the way, occasionally students aren't great with their times tables. I hope that's none of you. The most important thing that elementary teachers do in the area of math is getting their students to have the times tables down pat. 99.99% of the time you should be right, because if you're not, you'll never get the right answer, right, if you can't do your times tables. Because again, this is something you're going to do in your head. We all know 3 times 4 is 12, and 5 times 7 is 35, and roll on. Right, that's it. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Pretty simplistic, piece of cake. Okay, so what if positives and negatives come into play? Well, whoopee-doo, right? Isn't the top a -5 times a 3? Would you agree? All right, that's nothing scary there. And the bottom is a 7 times 8. Nothing scary there. Final answer, -15. Uh-oh, 7 times 8 is? 56. I don't know why, but students tend to miss 7 times 8 or 8 times 7. I don't know why. 6 and 9 as well. So, okay, pretty simplistic, right? Math is easy. Okay, in the midst of this, we have to deal with a few related subjects. Exponents, a 4/5 squared. Would you agree that 2 exponents says multiply the base times itself 2 times? For example, don't write this. If you had a 7 squared, you're thinking 7 times 7, right? If you had a 9 squared, you're thinking 9 times 9. If you had a 12 squared, you're thinking 12 times 12. So if I have a 4/5 squared, would you agree I have a 4/5 times a 4/5? Okay. So piece of cake. Top times top gives you. Bottom times bottom gives you. Ooh, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm just shaking in my boots. Piece of cake. 16/25. We're rolling on. Okay, nothing hard there. Oh, a negative. Ooh. So somebody tell me what the first fraction will be. Edward? I agree. What's the second fraction, Hayden? -3/7. Therefore, class, our top is 9 and our bottom is nothing scary there. Oh no. Cubed. What in the world are we going to do? The first fraction has to be, class? And the second fraction has to be, and the third fraction has to be. Now, have I at all dealt with you with 3 fractions in a row? Yes or no? No, not really. I don't think we've ever multiplied 3 fractions in a row. So, of course, we all have no earthly idea what to do. Math is way too hard anyhow. And, of course, this is fractions. Ooh. So, of course, there's no way you could get this right without me explaining it first. But, see what you can do. Just, try. No, of course, you'll never get it right because fractions are so hard and they're impossible. And we never even did 3 before, so how in the world are we ever going to get it right? But give it a try anyhow, and we'll just see. But I know it's impossible, and I know you can't get it. You done? Got an answer for me? All right, on 3, out loud, give me your answer. 1, 2, 3. Whoa. Amazing. Didn't even explain how to do it because math is nice and orderly, right? Hey, if we got to multiply 4 fractions, then it's all 4 top times top times top times top. 5 of them top times top times top times top times top. Bottom, 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 bottom. Right? What's the big deal? It's just nice and orderly. And by the way, -2 times a -2 is a +4. +4 times a -2 is a -8, right? -8 27ths. You guys are amazing. So what's with all the fear of fractions? I don't get it. I just don't get it. All right, here's a key concept. Going to save you multitudes of time. Do you like to save time? Saving time's a good thing. Okay. I'm always curious who the bums are. Are you a bum? Are you going to be a bum? If you don't are a bum, you will be a bum, and I will let you know you're a bum. So don't be one. What is R bum? Reduce before you multiply. Now, every example we've done so far, I purposely made it to where they didn't reduce. Because again, to multiply fractions, top times top, bottom times bottom. But the non-bums always reduce before they multiply. Otherwise, you are bum. So you got to R bum to not be a bum. If you can figure that one out, tell me, because I have no idea what it means. All right, but anyhow. Reduce before you multiply. You'll hear me say it a ton of times. You'll see me write it on your papers. R bum, R bum, R bum. Reduce before you multiply. Reduce before you multiply. Reduce before you multiply. Technically, the step of multiplication, the rule step, would put the 6 and the 3 on top, correct? Go ahead and write this. We'll do a shortcut in a minute. And the 11 and the 8 on the bottom, correct? All right. Now, don't do anything. Put your pencils down. Put your pens down. Here's what the bums do. The bums do this. 6 times 3 is 18, and 11 times 8 is 88. This is what the bums do. And then the bums say, 1888s, because I'm a bum. And semi-bums say, I wonder if it reduces. Let me see if it reduces. Let me factor the 18 into 3 times 6 and the 88 into 8 times 11. What did I just do? I just went right back to where I was. How stupid is that? Why would I multiply and then unmultiply to reduce? Does that make any sense? It's stupid. So not only are they bums, I can't use the word stupid, so I'll say they're an idiot. All right. I'm stuck on Judge Judy lately. All right. No, it just doesn't make any sense. You're just wasting your time. Do you know who Judge Judy is? She's the best. She does get cranky at times. She does get cranky. But you know why she's the best? Here's why she's the best. In numbers of cases, she's so smart, or her writers are, and people that figure it out, that she'll start asking questions to lead the person to incriminate themselves. It's awesome. In other words, by the questions she asks, she paints them into a corner so they have to give themselves up. It's a very good skill. It's a good skill to have if you're an investigator, if you're like a disciplined person, stuff like that. It's very good to have that skill to get people to admit their guilt without them even realizing they're doing it. All right, we can't talk about Judge Judy. We have to do math. All right, anyhow. So, on this step, we're going to reduce. And clearly, a 6 is a 2 times 3. And an 8 is a 2 times 4. Now, we're used to factoring a number and crossing it out. Now, here's the reality. Any top number can divide with any bottom number. So I'll use my blue here. This top 2 divided by this bottom 2, they divide out. Now, I could further factor the 4, but do I want to? It'll waste my time because are there any other 2's left on the top? No. So what does it matter? I'll just leave it as a 4, otherwise I'll waste my time. Nothing else factors? Well, look, now I'm ready to do top times top. 3 times 3 is 9. And 11 times 4 is 44, and I'm already reduced, and I'm rolling on to the next problem. 9/44. Hannah. As long as it's on the top and it's on the bottom, top always gets divided by the bottom. So you're in effect doing 2 divided by 2, and the answer is really a 1, right? So, but any top gets divided by any bottom. Yes, ma'am, Christina. You can't reduce a 3 and 11. They have to be the same number, and a 3 is not an 11, and 11 is not a 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's how you reduce. And that's how we've been reducing, by taking the division out. That's how you reduce. Let's see if you'll catch on as we do a few more. Now, I have no problem with my students reducing right off the original problem. Okay? Now, the only thing that sneaks its little ugly head in, because these are really quite easy, is if a student loses track of their positives and negatives. Is the first fraction positive or negative? And it's going to be multiplied times the second fraction, which is positive or negative. So the overall answer has to be what? Because we all know a negative times a positive is a negative. So make sure when you're done, your answer is negative. You know, when you're done with a quiz or test, you should be looking at stuff like that. Oh, my original fraction was negative on the front and positive in the back. I better have a negative answer. Now remember, you're not adding. Don't mix up adding and multiplying. Don't write this. It would be different if you had a negative 8/15 and a positive, 11/15. And that one, we don't really know what the answer is going to be yet, because we got to see which has the most, right? When you're adding and one's negative and one's positive, the answer could end up positive or it could end up negative. But we're not adding, we're multiplying. And every time you multiply a negative times a positive, you get a negative. So make sure you don't lose track of the negative. All right, here's what we can do. We can factor this negative 8 into a negative 2. Let's do it this way for you guys. A negative 4 times 2. Would you agree that's a negative 8? Okay. Or you can do 2 times negative 4. That's fine. I'm going to factor this 15 into a 3 times 5. And finally, I'm going to factor this 6 into a 2 times 3. That's not earth-shattering to anybody, is it? We all know what to do there. Now just start looking for things that divide out. Okay, top 2, bottom 2. Gone, right? Anything else? All right, so I'm going to use purple here. I have a top 3. Oh, well, wait a minute. Which bottom 3 do I use? Oh, my. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. Do I use the left 3? Do I use the right 3? I don't know. What do I use? Either one is the answer. Doesn't matter. We only have 1 3 on the top, though, right? So I can only use 1 on the bottom. If I'm going to divide the top 3, I can either use the 1 on the left or the 1 right below. I'll use the 1 right below because Hannah asked earlier, do you have to do it on a diagonal? No. Right? 3 divided by 3 is 1. Top 3 divided by bottom 3 is 1. What's left on the top, class? Negative 4. What does the bottom become? 15. We're done. Negative 4/15. Now, here's what students are going to have on their quiz. Negative 24 divided by, and then they're like off to the side, come up with 90. So they're going to have negative 24 over 90. More than likely, they're not going to reduce it, and they're going to get the problem wrong, or they'll then have to unmultiply it to reduce it, and they would have wasted all that time. All right? Don't do that. Don't be a bum. Reduce before you multiply. Once you're done, top times top, bottom times bottom. That's not a whole lot. Let's do another one. Uh-oh, mixed numbers, whole numbers. Now surely we're stuck. We have no idea. Mixed number, whole number, I have no idea what to do. How in the world? It's impossible. How in the world are we ever going to do this? There's just no way, Jose. I'm sunk. Somebody tell me what to do on this. Somebody tell me what to do. Go ahead, Christina. Okay, so she's correct, right? Let's change the 3 1/4 to an improper fraction. Somebody raise your hand and tell me what it becomes. Chloe? It is negative, not 15, Brendan. Did you say 13? Negative 13 over 4, right? 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 more is 13. Right? I thought she said 15, but she said 13, so she would have been right. Now again, let me one more time explain. We're doing some in our head, right? 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over the denominator of 4, right? Negative 13/4. It's Colby. Do you see it now? Okay. Yeah, there's no Kool-Aid on that one. That is correct. Negative 13 over 4. Brendan got you, right? See, friends can influence friends, right? They can be a negative influence. It can happen. Okay, and by the way, be alert of Kool-Aid because, you know, I am definitely not perfect. And we know Chloe isn't, of course. But anyhow, all right, 7 over 1 is the second one, right? We'll just put it over 1. Do you agree? Right? Okay, so big deal. It's pretty easy. Right now, I am looking to reduce because I don't want to be a bum. Can we reduce this one? No. But you know what? I looked. I always look. I always look to reduce before I multiply. Always look to reduce before you multiply. Okay, so we can't. What's a negative 13 times a 7? Be careful there. What is that, Colby? It is a negative 91. Our bottom is a 4. Should we turn this back to a mixed number? Well, we had a whole number and a mixed number. So technically we don't have to, so why take a chance on making a mistake, right? If both were mixed numbers, we'd have to change it to a mixed number. Both aren't, so why take the chance? All right, please stand if you don't have your notes with you today. Wow, unbelievable. Kristen, stand up. Or do you have? Are you? Okay, let me rephrase. Stop. Please stand if you are not taking notes in your notes today. Thank you. You may have a seat. All right, folks. Bring your notes. Okay, So negative 91/4, and we'll leave it that way. Why take a chance on getting it wrong? Okay, last one I want you to do. You got two mixed numbers. What kind of answer will your final answer be? It'll be a mixed number, and Colby's even going one further and said it's going to be a negative, right? Because he looked at positive times negative. Good job. All right, so I'm going to pause the video. You guys go ahead. Bums in here? No, none willing to admit it? All right. So did you R-bum? Did you reduce before you multiplied? I hope. Remember, you're wasting time by not doing that, and you're also multiplying the probability of mistake. So again, remember, when you're getting ready to do top times top, bottom times bottom, always look to reduce before you do the multiplying. Okay? Otherwise, you got 30 on the bottom, you got a ginormous numerator, and it's so much easier to handle this way. How many got that right? All right, you guys are awesome. So what's the big deal with fractions? I mean, they're not that scary. Okay, great. Homework, you guys have it there at the bottom of your page, 229, 1 through 12, 27, 28, 40, 47, 48, and 53. And that will be due on Monday. Hey, stay up. Stay up. Keep track of things. And we'll be having a test shortly.